All right, let's bring the July 23rd meeting of the Urban Design Commission to order. Item 1, roll call. George McChristian here. Jeff Struble.
Here.
Bessie Brinstetter. Here. Brian Fitzsimmons. Matt Guillory. Long Nguyen. John Robeson.
Here.
Okay, that's a quorum. Item 2, approval of the minutes. Are there any questions or comments about the minutes? If not, then if there are no objections, we will consider them approved by unanimous consent. Next item to take action on, 6A, cases for individual consideration, 626 Northwest 6th Street. Michael?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this proposal includes a structure at the front of the property, 624 Northwest 6th Street, which is a 500 square foot multi-story studio loft office building constructed with mostly shipping containers, and then in the rear of the lot, a single-family residence that is oriented and takes access from the alley. We've kind of outlined for you the issues that pertain to this project and made a recommendation for the Commission to approve this particular project as presented. However, it has come to our attention since the report was written and the agenda was posted that there is a zoning code section, that's section 12,100, that requires no more than one structure on a lot for single-family residential, two-family residential, three-family residential, and four-family residential, and that was overlooked in the preparation of this staff report. And in order to address that particular provision, a variance would be required. And since no variance was referenced in the public notice or in the agenda for this item, the Commission would not be able to vote on or make a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment on that variance. Discussed this particular provision with the applicant earlier today, and he has indicated that he would like the Commission to consider acting on the building at the front, the office building at the front, and entertaining a continuance for the second building in the rear, the residential building in the rear, to the next meeting, which is in August. And then there's also another provision that pertains to the office building in the front, and that is a guideline from the downtown design regulations. And that guideline discusses basically trying to provide 50% transparency with clear or tinted glass at the street level at the front of the building. At this point, this structure does not satisfy that guideline. So it's within the purview of the Commission to either allow it to be approved as is, or to entertain a condition of approval on the action for the office building that would require the applicant to submit revised plans that would show new glass on the front facade of the building that would satisfy that guideline. So that completes our presentation. We're prepared to respond to any questions the Commission may have, and the applicant is here to address any questions you may have elsewhere.
I have a question about the storage containers themselves. That's allowed in urban design, or is that because it's in the downtown overlay?
Storage containers?
The storage containers. This is.
The material. Well, we've tried to address that in the staff report. In that this is kind of a trend that we're seeing take place. That more and more people are interested in using shipping containers. Obviously, the code has not cut up to that trend, does not specifically address it, but steel is referenced as acceptable material in the downtown design districts, and these containers are made with steel. So we've raised that as a consideration for the Commission to take under advisement, and whether or not they feel it's an appropriate material. The Commission, obviously in different areas of downtown, it might work better than it would in others. For example, if this were more north in the Cottage District, like on 7th or 8th or 9th Street, it might not be as compatible, but because 6th Street is kind of more of a commercial street, that the shipping containers themselves may be considered acceptable. So it's really up to the commission themselves to determine whether or not it's acceptable material or not.
Jeff, for the commission's information, downtown, the Downtown Design Review Committee approved a shipping container structure at their last meeting a couple weeks ago for 11th and Broadway. It's a temporary gallery installation at 11th and Broadway, and the only other one we could find was the dog park at Hudson and 10th or 9th.
Okay, this project really confuses me, just in general. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is on the south side of 6th Street. So the north elevation of the storage container project is the north elevation, correct?
Correct.
And the north elevation has the big window in the end of, you pulling that up, Michael? Or Paula? Is Michael doing it? So talented. Keep going.
The north elevation has the big window on the second
It has the
story.
big window on the second story, and it has a window
A door.
in the door.
Yes.
And we require, downtown design review or downtown design ordinance requires a 50% of glass.
Correct.
Yes. 50% on the first floor, isn't
Right.
it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. I don't know, I kind of like this project, so.
I think the question I would ask in just putting a pin into the glazing for a moment is the concern I have is that this reads a little bit, to me at least, like an accessory structure fronting 6th Street. You've got a 50-foot wide lot, you've got 20-foot wide structure. You have more side yard frontage on 6th than you do structural frontage on 6th. And I'm just not sure that in terms of trying to enforce a street wall or suggest a street wall or do some of the things that we're trying to do in the area, if that is just enough building fronting 6th. And I don't know that the code actually speaks to how much of the lot fronting a street has to be occupied by a building. I know it talks about once the building's built, 60% has to be to the build to line. So there's nothing in the code I can point to say you shouldn't do this. It's just my personal opinion. I'm not sure that it reads like a substantial enough facade or elevation against 6th. I don't know how you'd respond to that.
Derek Bird, Gummerson & Associates, 626 Northwest 6th. I think I can address that. So, last month when I came before the commission, we had the issue of the setback. And so in order to suffice that, I needed to come up with a structure that would meet the setback requirement that I could do at the same time as the rear structure. And this design came into fruition with the idea of being able to add on to it eventually to create a larger house on the front that we had spoken of last month. And in fact, I've already got a lease contingent upon approval by the commission for the space. So a 2-year lease to be leased. So
you might be building an additional structure adjoining this?
I will be,
Also?
sir. Yes. just in due time.
It would, I'm not a fan of north or west glass, and I don't know that I don't know how I feel about an ordinance that just prescribes that, even if it's accidental. But the question that I have is, if you built that second structure and added it onto this structure, would you meet the 50% glass requirement, or could you design it so you could?
I spoke with Mr. Philbrick about this earlier. I'm more than happy to add glass to the front. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Enough to satisfy the
Absolutely.
requirement?
In fact, I'll make the entire thing storefront glass.
So what would the time frame be for you to be able to add that to this construction? Would you?
Immediately.
What do you anticipate your time frame is for that?
As far as getting, depending
Is there a chance that you could do this inside of your program, meet your needs, that you could do this simultaneous, if you could just build one building that had the glass?
could you repeat the question?
Could you build the addition and the initial proposal at the same time?
Yes. The rear structure?
Oh, no, I thought you were adjoining a building to the side that would give you more frontage.
Okay, I understand the question now. The end goal, whether it's a year from now or a year and a half from now, will be to take this existing structure, which I intend to, once I get approval, I intend to start immediately, depending upon the permitting and that sort of thing. Once that happens, I plan on...
That's the adjoining structure that we're talking about, not the one at the back.
This structure that I'm presenting today that's on the board here, I would be meeting the glass requirements. I would cut in windows into this submitted structure to meet those guidelines, that 50% rule.
Oh, okay.
Does that answer the question?
It's a different question, but it's the same answer.
Okay.
It's fine. We get what we need.
All right.
So I think what we're talking about is, we're talking about this structure as presented here.
Yes,
You're
sir.
saying that you could meet the 50% glass requirement.
Absolutely.
But the other structure, kind of, making air quotes, is not an adjoining structure to this. The other structure that you're referring to is your dwelling at the south end of the...
Well, and I'm sorry that this is so confusing.
Yeah, and it may just be my fault.
No, so this structure was submitted solely to meet the setback requirements and meet the city code
Gotcha.
and requirements. And, my eventual goal is to build the front structure in a more grandiose manner, something in the 3,000 square foot range.
Right.
This building you see on the screen for you right now is basically a core that he intends to expand
Okay,
upon.
that's what I
build
understand.
around.
So from the last meeting, I felt you kind of wanted to build your dream house fronting Northwest 6th at some point in the future.
That's correct.
And now what you're saying is you still intend to do that, but you're going to use this structure as the core for that. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Michael. And so in response to the issue I mentioned about that it's only 20 feet, your response, I'm guessing, and correct me where I'm wrong, is, well, it's 20 feet now, but
Yes.
It's going to be much bigger.
It's going to be the entire 50.
Yeah, going forward.
But that brings us to the reason that we had the continuance, I think, in the beginning, which was how do we approve something on a contingency that it's going to comply later?
Right. And events may happen outside of your control, and it may not be a year and a half, it may be 5 years or 10 years or,
This is a little different, however, because this does comply, whereas the one we had last month did not.
But good point.
Right.
My concern is that we have on Northwest 6th for we don't really know how long,
Understood.
a structure that reads like an accessory building fronting a major thoroughfare. And it's cool. I think I think it's creative. I like what you've done, but I'm concerned about the issues of, and you know all these issues, the street wall, all that type of thing.
Yeah, and I plan on contributing to the area, not pulling away from. I completely understand that. But it does meet all the guidelines and the codes as submitted.
Yeah, there are, like the chairman said, there are no regulations to speak to how wide the building has to be. It just says whatever width that building is, it needs to meet the setback for that distance.
Right, we don't have a lot coverage requirement for downtown.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
In an effort to, I know that the shipping containers are kind of a progressive thing for Oklahoma City. We haven't seen a whole lot of it. But it's actually a sustainable construction method. This structure will eventually, it's not going to be, it's only a matter of time before it expands.
But thank you, and I appreciate that. I want to go back to it's allowed. Is it allowed as it is by right, or obviously there's a design review body commission here. Does this also fall under the purview of maybe it doesn't break any ordinances, but from a design perspective, using my words, it's not substantial enough. The frontage isn't substantial enough. Is that within our purview or not within our purview? And feel free to, from a legal perspective, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, that would be within your purview if you felt it was not substantial enough. I mean,
Okay.
there isn't any, you're making an interpretation of what the guidelines say we're trying to do, and if that's the commission's...
And that may just be me. There's a counter-being argument that this is an interesting, exciting, contemporary structure, and that the city is much better off with it than without it. The other thing I wanted to ask you about this, you've kind of used in the southwest corner of this structure stucco because the dimensions either don't quite work or you want to kind of square out the back. How do you feel? I was wondering, does stucco as a material work next to a shipping container?
It does. Obviously you have to be conscientious of your expansion joints in the way that it meets up, but it definitely does cope and stick.
Okay. And the one other question, Michael, that I would ask you is, I know the full intention is if this is approved, it seems to be pre-leased and we'll get going on it as quickly as possible and come back later for the southern structure. Do you feel we still need to tie the two, just in case something happens once they're both approved, do you think we still need to tie them together somehow, either via building permits I wasn't sure about, but certificates of occupancy might be a more effective way of they're granted simultaneously or not at all?
Well, if the action the commission takes today is on the front structure only, there's really no issue with any of that. And if, when it does come back to you next month for the residents in the rear, and it comes back to you with a variance request, if the commission were inclined to approve that variance, then there really wouldn't be any issues that would be necessary to tie the two structures together.
Well, only if, this could be approved and permitted and still not built, not be built.
That's true.
Okay, but I think your other point, maybe the larger point is, we don't need to worry about tying them together now until we're actually addressing the southern residence structure. Okay.
Right.
Well, because of the code that Michael, we can't tie them together right now because it's illegal to build two structures on that site.
Yep.
One question, you said that you would be willing to provide 50% of the glass on that first level?
Yes, ma'am.
How would you do that?
You cut through, the actual containers are constructed out of Core 10.
Right. I'm not asking you, I guess where is what I'm looking for, because you've got a bathroom that takes up a good portion of that
So it would be
elevation?
to the east of the bathroom.
Okay.
And also, just for the commission's information, I did include option B of this same design, which incorporates more of the core 10 panels on hat channel that would kind of cover up the shipping container look from the street, if you were more inclined to. And then something else I would like to just suggest and put before you is I would also be willing to put this on one single lot, so the west lot, I could put it over to the property line, and so it wouldn't be splitting the lots. And so it would be more of a, not as, here's this tiny structure between this 50-foot point. It'd be more so tidied up to a corner.
Wouldn't you like that better?
I think I would. I think I would.
In fact, I actually like that better.
Okay. And I wanted to ask, I'm fine with the shipping container personally. I don't know how everybody else feels about it. I don't put you on the spot, but you identified shipping containers, to your credit, way back as it's going to come. We're going to have to be looking at them. I'm just curious how you feel about them.
No, I'd like them. I thought that was something that we weren't able to use under urban designs. That's why I was asking the question, because I think it's a good, neat way to be creative with a small project or for something even for short term, so I like it.
I do want to point out that part of the DDRC's approval, I don't know about what the discussion was last Thursday because I was not here, but previous approvals, like the shipping container on 9th Street, was that it was a temporary use of that land, and that when the opportunity came along to have a more dense solution to the property, that made that easier to change out.
Sure.
So,
Are you
but this sounds like your vision is to have 25 shipping containers across the
Right.
front of that,
Exactly.
which I also think might be interesting, but
Did you guys review OKC? The Richard McCown, didn't he pick up?
That was only a presentation
Oh,
at
okay.
downtown, and it never morphed into an actual formal application.
Gotcha.
that one got pulled out somehow, and we did review it, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Dick Tannenbaum says that they're a lot more expensive to
To toy with and modify.
yeah, than you would think.
Right.
And he also is not crazy about the examples from Dallas, evidently. I've never seen them, so.
So did you want to pursue the temporary use, or you are okay
No,
with the
I
use?
really, I mean, especially if you, scoot it over on the side,
Yeah.
and
Is
I
that-
think it could be a very fun thing.
So are we leaning towards putting it on one of the parcels, one of the 25-foot parcels, and then going for the 50% glazing? Is that where we're headed? Or, okay, if I don't know if someone wants to make a motion, if there are other questions about this that you want to get
I move we
resolved
approve it
with those two,
with those two
conditions.
conditions.
Okay. So that was a motion by Mr. Robeson. Do we have a second?
John, do you need to clarify which parcel?
I'm sorry.
Do you need to clarify which parcel it goes on?
It goes on entirely on, the first phase goes entirely on the corner parcel,
West.
on the west parcel.
Is that
That'd
what
be
you want?
nice.
I'd be willing to do either way, east
Wait,
or
do-
west. I
do-
would
do-
prefer
or-
west.
I thought you were talking about the east on the corner. but-
Do you have a, I mean, we're just kind of throwing darts. Do you have a preference, given your...
The west would be, I believe that's parcel 19.
Is that your preference?
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Okay. And,
That's your preference?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's fine with me.
Okay. Paula, do we need any more clarification for the motion? Yes, and the other condition is the
At
front
the
will
first
be-
floor.
The first floor will be 50% glass. Okay, again, we have that motion by Mr. Robeson. Do we have a second? Mr. Nguyen seconds it. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, 8A, Communications Administrative Approval Report. Michael, anything you want to call out here?
No, I mean, we have a couple of items, 1 and 5 are a couple of revisions to residential structures that have been approved recently in the Cottage District, and then the Canes up at Penn and 23rd is making some revisions to their landscaping. And also, action item 4 is also a Cottage District house as well. It's just a new retaining wall between the two lots, two adjoining lots at the corner of 8th and Francis. And then the item 3 is just a garage door swap out that was done without prior approval, and they came back and took care of it, so that was it.
Okay, terrific. 8B, comments from Planning Department staff.
Everybody should have received an invitation to the demolition ordinance workshop on August 29th. Let me know if you did not. And we're still working on commissioner training for late December, January timeframe.
We have one more thing, the OU IQC meeting on the 29th. I'm sorry, it's...
Go for it. I don't remember when. Is it July 29th?
The University of Oklahoma Institute for Quality Communities has been doing work in a variety of areas, 23rd Street being one of them, I think also Paseo and the Plaza District as well. I believe that their meeting is on it's on the 29th. I don't know the time. We can send if you haven't gotten an email about it already, we can certainly forward that to you.
Yeah, I think it's at 6:30 and it's at OCU Business School auditorium.
And they're presenting their findings of all the work they've been doing with regard to parking and streetscape and other kinds of issues that are confronting those areas.
It's July 29th, 6:30 at OCU, I think at the business school. And then separately, if you can all go to that'd be great. If not, I talked to Shane Hampton about either he or someone coming and giving us a presentation and maybe a little bit more interactive, given we might have questions and things like that, but given that all 3 of their areas are areas that we oversee. But we can just see how that goes. Well, Lisa, on the demolition ordinance, and I know we've all looked at various documents, various iterations, are you all going to send out kind of a final version before the meeting that we can review?
I'm not sure I'll send out a final version, just a digest of the high points, but I might be talked into it. I'm trying to avoid 100 people wordsmithing.
Gotcha.
But because most of the people at the meeting, this will be the first time they've looked at anything. So I was planning to present like a digest of the key points that it's trying to achieve, get everybody's buy-in on that, and then send out.
Gotcha.
That was mine. But for the select brain trust committee that Aubrey had convened, integrating some comments I just got from the developer group. I'm integrating them, and I will send it out to that group.
Okay, you don't have to.
Yeah.
I was just whatever you feel is best for managing the process.
Sure. And we also, last week, we met with Preservation Oklahoma to talk through what the goals and objectives were. That went very well.
Oh, good. Excellent. Glad to hear that. Any other comments from planning staff? C, comments from commission members? Anyone? How are we doing backfilling the positions? Any info there?
No info.
Okay. Excellent. Glad I asked.
No information. We have put forth various names, and we await the mayor's appointment.
Okay. The next meeting date information we have in our agenda. If there's nothing further, then we will consider ourselves adjourned by unanimous consent. Okay. Thank you very much.